What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm your host, James Lariello, and today we've got a really fun one we're going to dive right into. Robyn Lesh joins us on the Steep Stuff Podcast. I'm so excited to have had a chance to have finally gotten to talk to Robyn. She joined us just before her fourth place finish at the JFK 50 mile a few weeks back. Robyn has been on a heater in 2024. She took first place at the Speedgoat 28K back in July. She took a fourth place finish at the world-renowned Meet the Minotaur Sky Race. Definitely on a heater, as well as a top 10 finish at the Canyons 50K as well, which is a super flat, fast course. We talk about all kinds of really fun stuff. We talk about her 2024 season with plans for 2025 with the world's qualifiers coming up, which she is registered to go compete at the Gorge Waterfall 100K, which is going to be the long course. We also dive deep into what it's like being an athlete for Vibram or Vibram. I don't know. I probably butchered that word. One of those words is the correct pronunciation of Vibram. We talk about what it's like to be a Vibram athlete. We don't have too many Vibram athletes floating around out there, so it was kind of cool to get to learn more about the brand and what they represent and kind of their how they build their athlete team and things like that for the future. So really fun conversation. I want to wish Robyn the best of luck as she gears up and starts to prepare for her next race coming up in April at the Gorge Waterfall race. And yeah, what a great conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thanks so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are live.
All right, Robyn Lesh, welcome to the Steep Stuff Podcast. How's it going?
Thanks. Yeah, I'm doing well.
Yeah.
Good
excited.
Monday.
This worked out perfect. It's funny. I've done so many race previews, particularly like Speedgoat and Meet the Minotaur, where myself and co-host Nick Tusa, Robyn Lesh would pop up on our start list. About in our previews and athletes we were doing previews on, and you and I had not had a chance to meet or talk before this, so it was kind of awesome that Mercedes introduced us. So I want to give a big shout out to Mercedes Sigel Gaither. So that worked out perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Heck yeah,
she knows everyone. It's amazing.
She does. She's well connected, very well connected. Yeah. If there's anybody I need to talk to in the space, usually it's Mercedes can usually get me in touch. So that works out perfect.
Yeah, and just a great friend too. So all around.
Yeah. Good person, all around a good person. So let's introduce you. Who is Robyn Lesh?
Thanks. Yeah. I am a trail and mountain runner. I live in Durango, Colorado. I've been running professionally for about 3 years. Before that, like lots of people, I ran for fun. While I was living down in New Zealand in 2020, I discovered trail running and was like, oh, heck, wait, you can race on trails. This is amazing. And pretty promptly got hooked. And when I get hooked on something, I go pretty all in. So I've been all in since then. Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. Where did you grow up by that? Are you from New Zealand originally, or?
No, I'm not. I'm from Washington State, Pacific Northwest.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Wow. And you didn't, so let's start out with this. How did your running journey begin? Like, did you like run cross country or anything like that? Or were you like a soccer player? Usually people come from like one of 5 different sports.
Well, I'll add a 6th because I'm probably not in the one of 5. My background, I grew up like hiking and like mountain exploring since I was 2. So lots of time outdoors on my feet and just running around as a kid. But no organized running in my childhood. I came from sailing. So I was a sailor through high school and college, and grew up just like that little kid that ran around on boats and swung around on the shrouds and just completely outdoorsy all the time. Grew up on 28 acres in the Pacific Northwest with shoes on half the year, I would say. So just a super duper active childhood, but no organized running. I actually weirdly didn't think I could run for a couple of reasons. Well, my mom was a runner, so I did a few like little 5Ks and things as a child. But when I was high school aged, I had a friend who would steal my shoes and run away with them, and I wasn't able to catch him. If I was running full out, he was slightly faster. So I was like, oh, I'm slow. And then a few years after that, my mom gave me like a couch to 5K program. And I was like, oh, I sail, I'm active, I do things. I can probably do week 3. And I tried, and it was so hard. I found out later I was probably sprinting all the odd intervals because I didn't know how to run slow. But so if you do a couch to 5K running fast, it's really difficult. I would recommend going slow. So then I was like, I can't even do third week of a couch to 5K. I just can't run. So thanks to some friends a few years later who took me begrudgingly on a 3 or 4 mile run, I finally discovered that, that is something I can do. And then through college, I just ran as cross training for sailing. For my own personal sanity. Too? Yeah. Yep.
That's so crazy. Do you want to tell the audience, like, I think you're the first person on the podcast I've had on that went to MIT. So I want to hear about your college experience, because it's like, I don't know, I don't meet too many people that have gone to MIT. Yeah. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a funny path. So when I was high school age, I took classes at the community college and tons of math and the local university. And then when I was college age, 18, I headed over to MIT. In Boston, was there for 4 years getting my undergraduate degree. You learn a couple of things at MIT. One is how much you can freaking do in a day because you have to. And the second thing you learn is how much you can't do in a day. So you go way beyond what you think is possible, and then you hit your limit and you say, oh, okay, that's where it is. But it's way, way higher than you ever would have expected had you not been pushed to that point. It's full on. Yeah. My first semester, I was like, I love math. I'm going to take the hardest math class I can find. And I found out that's not something to do at MIT.
No.
Yeah, there are no numbers in that class at all. It's just words.
Just letters. That's it.
Yeah. So you just learn to do things in the amount of time that you have and do them as well as you can with what you got.
What was that like balancing sailing with, I mean, you said you, well, you didn't say this on the pod, but I found it in my research, your mechanical engineering degree. What was that like balancing mechie with, with sailing? Like, it must have been pretty difficult.
It was challenging. I learned probably my sophomore, junior year, the importance of like fully committing to what was in front of me at the moment. So what that meant was I used to try. So, okay. The sailing schedule is practice 4 days a week for 4 to 7, 3 hours every afternoon. So 3 times 4, 12 hours during the week, and then 2 full days of regattas. Like each weekend is regatta and it's a full day. There's no like 2 days. It's not like a track meet where you run for an hour or you're competing for an hour or 2 and then the rest is off. You're sailing the whole time. And so I used to try to do homework on Saturday night, and I learned, no, you can't try to fit in homework because it detracts from trying to sail at your highest capacity. And then you're doing both halfway. And so I said, there's no homework on Saturday night. It's a rest night. It's a full focus on sailing night. I'll deal with the consequences on Sunday. So just prioritizing what you need to do for what you care about at the moment.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's just wild. I don't know. I talk to a lot of people that most of the folks in the podcast have either been, in some degree or some capacity, collegiate athletes with, very, very rarely do I meet people who don't have like high achieving degrees that in some like hard science or engineering. So it's very interesting to me listening how people balance things and
doing things good enough as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So let me ask you this. So graduated with a mechanical engineering degree. What do you do for like outside of running then for like job, like for work?
yeah, it's a few different things, and it's been an evolution. So I came. How far back we want to go?
Take
After
it back.
college,
Let's go back.
okay, I'll start back at college. After college, I sailing was a really big part of my life. And so I graduated from college and I had the next 2 months planned out. Most people have, actually it's 1 month, have, internships, jobs, etc. But my month was go down to Long Island and participate. Actually, it was a week and then a flexible time. Participate in this sailing clinic. And so I hustled myself into a job there at this Olympic Sailing Center. So I was working there, managing their fleet of foiling boats and training as an athlete and coaching, assistant coaching. Got hired from there, which was full on sailing. I've been sailing for 7 years, pretty much 6 days a week, into designing for the America's Cup. So the America's Cup is a pretty much the top of tech in sailing. It's foiling 70-foot monohulls, if you know boats, but 70-foot boats that lift out of the air on a wing, a span that's sort of like an underwater airplane wing that's about 9 feet across in length. So this huge boat pretty much just levitating based on the technology that is created and designed for the boat. So I worked on the design team there for about 3 years, a lot less sailing, pretty much none. So that was a big transition. And that's where running sort of became my like me time, running in the gym. That took us down to New Zealand in 2020 and full on work, like 60-hour plus week type things. Wow. So we're pretty much MIT in the real world. So, you fit in time with your partner and you fit in exercise and you fit in work and sleep, and that's about it. Which is another reason why we went so full in on running, because you can see so much and you can explore so much, and it's just a wonderful way to get around. So after that, I said I need a bit of a break. So I went full on in running after the America's Cup. And that's still my priority. It's still become my number one, and I'm formulating the rest of my work around running. Things that I've added in is I've gotten my life coaching certification. So I'm really passionate about not only the mental side of running and performance, but also how your personal dynamic within your world affects how happy you are at work, how your work teams are, just sort of our day to day, which is everyone's experience with the world, and helping people navigate those situations is really fun and really interesting. And I think in the right applications helps people a lot to enjoy their work and their day-to-day interactions more. And another part is doing things that you don't think is possible, which is something I discovered through running. I'll give a shout out to Martin Ghaffari, because he was really helpful early on when I was trying to figure out how to go into pro running and how to sort of make that transition. He said, and also in my working towards life coaching, because he has some life coaching experience. And he asked me a really profound question, which was, it sounds like you really want to do these big races. Why aren't you?
Exactly.
I didn't have a proper answer. And so that was really eye-opening, in what one simple phrase can point out and can help people move in the directions they want to move, but don't think they can.
Yeah.
So life coaching, and then a little bit of engineering more recently, but cool. Primarily running.
I love it. I love the life coaching aspect too, because it's like, I don't know, like you said, I think people mentally a lot of times, depending on where they are in life, will build like mental walls and stuff like that. And it's so amazing to see. I don't know. I used to think like, life coaching, I don't know if I would need something like that. But you know what? Just like, it's crazy how just having someone's outside perspective and just having that conversation can show you, well, breaking down those walls, if you will, and helping you.
Yeah, or even just noticing them and saying, it looks like this is a wall.
Right.
You say, oh shoot, yeah, it is.
So true. How do you like the professional athlete life?
It's good. I like so one of the reasons I switched from sailing to running is the people.
Yeah.
Like the people in this world are amazing. And that's wonderful. So one of the things I really, really like about it is connecting with people all over the world. I do some talks at some events about how to help people who are newer to the sport feel more confident and comfortable, and tips and things like that. And I love connecting with people.
Yeah.
And I'm not an expert. I don't think anyone's an expert. I think we're all always learning, but sharing the things that I have learned thus far is I just love, and talking to people and meeting people. It's not an easy life. There are no days off. You go home for holidays at Christmas and you train every day.
Still got to run.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Still have a workout Christmas Eve. So those are some of the things that are like less apparent when people are like, oh, I wish I was a pro athlete, or I wish I had blah, blah, blah. And travel is wonderful, but it's also freaking exhausting.
It's very easy to get sick. It's stressful. Yeah. I mean, I don't like to highlight the negative things. I love it. I run for Sportiva and Ultimate Direction, and it's a great life. Like I have zero complaints, but I love asking other athletes, especially those ones I don't know, how they perceive that life and how they enjoy it, and what the experience is like for them. How do you like being on Team Vibram? Like Vibram's rad. Like you guys make great outsoles. It's so cool. Like, and I don't think I know anybody. I guess Meredith, but I don't really know Meredith very well, if at all. But I'm aware of her, obviously. But I don't know too many people on that team other than like Scotty Hawker in New Zealand and people like that. But yeah, like how do you like that team? What's that all about?
Yeah, it's cool. A good group of people, and I think what's cool about it is it's sort of the core is the technology, is the rubber, and it has this incredible history from like hiking boots. And people who are connected to that period just have this customers of customers, because Vibram's customers are shoe companies, but customers of customers just have this like passionate love connection with the product. And so it's not like, it's just very lovely to represent, because it sells itself. Like if you have run in a pair of Vibram shoes, Vibram sold shoes in tough conditions, you're like, oh yeah, these are great. Like it's and sort of the whole Vibram family, the whole Vibram team, the whole
where are they based? They're in the Northeast, right?
The base,
they're based in what, Massachusetts, correct, or Boston?
Yeah. There's an office in Massachusetts, and that's where the factory that produces soles that need to be manufactured in the U.S. are made. Literally by hand. It's incredible. Like there's these people that have been working there for 30 years that are maybe I haven't met a heap of factory workers, but these are the most cheerful factory workers I could imagine. And they're just cutting the edges off of rubber soles, and it's incredible machines in that space. There's an office there. There's an office in Boulder and one in Portland, and the main sort of hub is in Italy.
That is so crazy. How does it work with the shoes? Can you like wear any pair of shoes with a Vibram sole you want?
Yes, I can.
So dope. I like that.
Yeah. However, it's wonderful, but then you're also like a little bit of choice paralysis.
Yes.
So
yes.
Like anything that's back and forth, but it's great.
Yeah. That's so cool. How big is the team in the US? How many members do you guys have?
There's a few different portions of teams, because there's also like a climbing contingent, because Vibram also make climbing shoe rubber. There's a little bit of a crossover with Skimo, I think.
Okay.
And then I think there's 4 or 5 of us. Meredith is kind of on both sides. 4 or 5. Somewhere in there.
So cool. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is out of pure curiosity, just because I don't know, just interested. So it's very cool.
No.
So how did you end up in Durango? How did Durango come into the mix?
Yeah, good question. Let's see. So we're living in New Zealand and we were trying to figure out if we wanted to live in New Zealand and visit the US, or live in the US and visit New Zealand. So we decided to come back and visit family, because it had been all through COVID. And we'd never lived in a place, we being me and my partner, that wasn't associated with a workplace. So we'd always followed my work pretty much, with the America's Cup all over the place. So we didn't really have a place, a home, a base. We had our parents, but they're very different states, and our siblings are kind of spread around. So we decided to find a place with cool people, cool mountains, good running community, and did a big road trip from Washington down through Oregon, and then crossed to Colorado. And people in Colorado kept saying, you might really like Durango. We said, well, isn't it kind of a desert down there? And they're like, yeah, it is. So we kind of pretty much entirely crossed it off the list. And then we'd kind of been like, well, maybe Crested Butte. So a month later, my sister and I did another road trip down through the state, down to Albuquerque, and stopped in Durango for 24 hours and visited a friend. And we're like, wait a second, this is not a desert. There's trees everywhere. Deserts don't have trees. And we did some runs in town and went to the La Platas, which is this amazing valley just west of town, with lots of trails. And there's pretty much a trail in each quadrant of town. And people said the community was great, and it seemed great. And so I said, Teddy, let's move to Durango. And he said, I haven't been there. And I said, yeah, I know. But I think it's cool. So we decided to try it out, and we're still here.
It's such a fun town. We got married in Silverton, technically just outside of Silverton on the pass.
Yeah, nice.
This past summer. So I'm in the spring,
Congrats.
so we go out there a lot.
Let me know next time.
Yeah. I almost moved to Durango. It was pretty close. Like, we just literally settled in a house, like, no joke, like this week, and Durango was in the final running for, it was either going to be Durango or settling in the Springs, and we ultimately decided on Colorado Springs. But yeah, Durango's special. It's so much fun. What a great place. And I don't know, there's just, I could sit here and brag about it, but I don't like to talk about it too much on the podcast, because you probably don't want too many people moving there.
Yeah, exactly. Come visit and then go home.
Exactly. Do you do a lot of training in the San Juans at all, or are you more Durango?
In the mountains? Yeah. Boy, that's one of the tough things about being execute at your maximum athlete. Depends on the race I'm training for. Yeah. So training for Minotaur was so much fun, because I got to just go play in the La Platas, where it's like super chunky and like trails and quote marks. Because Minotaur was just that, really chunky ridge lines and lots of rocks. When I'm training for something like Tarawera, which is a very runnable 50K that's like
super flat. Yeah.
Super fast, super flat, or JFK. This weekend, I can't go. Well, I shouldn't go into the mountains as much. So it's a balance between adventures with the friends and the missions and stuff, and training for the next goal race, which is maybe a reason to go longer, because I could just spend more time playing around in the mountains.
Fair. That's fair.
Long missions, but a mixture of balance.
The reason I ask is, like, I feel like I would struggle so much with that balance. Like, I'm a mountain runner through and through, as it seems like you are. I mean, we'll talk about JFK later. We'll see if we could bring you back to the mountains. But anyway, the balance like would just be so difficult for someone like me, just because I feel like, oh my gosh, you just have this enormous playground with unlimited 3,000 to 5,000 foot climbs everywhere. It's like, oh my gosh, it's Candyland.
Merch is no problem. That's for sure. Yeah. It's a balance. And just like choosing when it's a trade-off that is not even worth it, is like valuable to your personal happiness, and when it's a trade-off for performance, and just understanding the balances and making the decision as you want it to be.
Yeah. Do you work with a coach at all? You seem very analytical with the way you express your training, like, specificity for this, specificity for that. Like, who do you work with?
Thank you. Yeah. Robbie Britton. He is from the UK. But he Yeah, exactly. Hayden, also Dan Jones this year, and Caitlin Fielder from New Zealand. Everyone's congregating.
He's, I mean, arguably one of the best coaches in the world. So that's amazing.
Yeah. He's having a great great time. No, he's really fun to work with. I just had a call with him this morning. He's living in northern Italy. There's a cool training center there. Great spot to visit. Yeah, I really having a good time working with him. I think we're going on year 3 or something like that. So
super cool.
In the flow.
How's your build going for JFK? And that's the big one coming this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. First 50 mile.
Wow.
Stepping up. Also wacky course.
So
we'll see
fast,
how it goes.
so fast. Oh my gosh.
In the last 2/3. Yeah, just a lot of riding. Build is going well. It's a little bit hard to know. Like I haven't done much like flat marathons. I think my marathon PB is something like some trail race. It was probably like Tarawera, like the marathon within Tarawera or something like that, or canyons. So I haven't run like fast flat racing. And there is a sneaky fast flat marathon within JFK. So we'll see. It'll be lots of learning. It'll be lots of eating. There'll be lots of not wanting to eat, but eating anyway. Yeah, it's gonna be run for a few hours through Maryland.
As long as it goes well, it should be over quick. I mean, relative to 50 miles, right?
Exactly. Incentive to run quick. No, I think the build's going well. There's been a few, most of the time there's always various hiccups, but yeah, that's the way it is. But nothing serious.
What strategy are you, once you get off the AT, are you going to switch to like road shoes? Is that kind of the plan, or?
Good question. We'll see. I have a pair of road super shoes. But I got them on Friday.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That was 3 days ago. So that's the risky choice. I have a pair of Vibram R&D shoes that I have raced. Well, when I first got these shoes, I was like maximum 20K. Through this year, I have raced Tarawera, Chianti, which is a 42, Speedgoat 28K, which was a sketchy choice in those, but it turned out great. And OCC. So my 20K estimate was completely off. It turns out they can go a lot further. So I'll probably run a chunk in those because I'm really confident in those, and they're really light and really fast. And then maybe switch to road shoes halfway or something.
Nice.
We'll see.
Super cool. How's the fueling strategy going? Just training that stomach and just getting ready for
keep freaking eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a balance. I don't like eating race nutrition too much, because I like my teeth. And I don't want them to rot away.
That's a lot of sugar.
But yeah, freaking heaps. But yeah, eating as much as I can, like eating a lot on certain runs, and trying to like bump up capacity every once in a while. I, knock on wood, I'll jinx myself. I don't usually have any gut issues, but that's Robbie pointed out way early on in our training. I was like, I never had any trouble with my stomach. And he's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's because you don't eat anything. I was like, yeah, fair point. That was back in the days of 1 gel an hour type thing. So, yeah, have the little alarm go off, stay on the time, eat it when you should.
Wow.
Get the numbers up.
Yeah. I'm excited for you. This is going to be fun. I can't wait to follow along. It's going to be, oh my gosh, the women's and men's race are just going to be I don't know, badass. I mean, on the men's side, my coach Eli Hemming is going to be there.
Sweet.
David Sinclair. Like, oh my gosh, like both sides, it's going to be fun to follow. So I can't wait it's going to be a fun Saturday. So
nice.
Are you when do you head out?
Thursday.
Cool.
On the later end, but yeah.
Nice. Super
chill. Stay at home for a bit.
Yeah,
don't go down last minute.
Don't blame you at all. In and out. One of the things I wanted to get into is, like I said in the beginning of the episode, was just like your name came up so much on like the Speedgoat preview, the Minotaur preview. Like you're a very like legit mountain runner, like super, like very impressive results. Especially like 4th at Minotaur in like a very stacked women's field in that sky race. So I think we should start off. Let's chat Minotaur, because that course is amazing. That race is just incredible. Like Let's talk about that.
That was such a cool. So, so for stats, tell me if this is wrong. It's 33K with 3,000 meters
Something like that. Yeah,
ish.
33.5. And yeah, I think that's about that amount of climbing. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
it is crazy. The extra crazy thing is there's 5 kilometers of flat at the end. 3 kilometers, 4 kilometers, and like some like at the end, but some smooth-ish, not steep running, which means all that vert is packed into really the first 26, 28K. So it's super verty.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, really fun. Anything specific about it?
Yeah, sorry.
Up, down, up, down, up, down,
Yeah,
down.
just a broad question. A lot of exposure too. Is it like a very, because I haven't been on in that course on Crow's Nest. Is there like a significant amount of exposure on there? Like what's
I would say like the way the course runs on the ridge, like if you go off course, you could probably drop a distance that's like exposure
yeah.
worthy. You don't like if you trip, you're gonna get eaten up
Yeah.
because everything's sharp, but it's not like you're on a little ledge and if you go left, it's a big problem. There are some like chunky bits. There's one like chute that's really fun. That's like this little red chute that's just like super steep, dusty scree. And you go like 15 feet down and then take a sharp right onto through this little notch. So there's little really fun like ridgeline stuff like that. And then also some really fast. I was really paying attention to my feet because there were some photographers around and it was this really chunky part. that's like some steep like down drops and sort of down scramble parts. I wouldn't say like honesty, like true exposure, like you're gonna die if you slip at all. You'll get some bangs up, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Tell me about the women. I'm interested with the women's race because like it was such a stacked women's field. Like how did that play out between what was it? Was Karina there if I remember correctly? May Cook, obviously Mercedes, Emma Cook Clark, you and Elise Planchette.
Ruby.
Yeah, Ruby.
Yep, Elise. Yep.
Just like
and the third place, the lady from Mexico, whose name I don't remember.
Yeah, I think it was Karina.
Karina, that's Karina. Yeah. Yep. I had no idea how that was gonna go because it was my first sky race. And I'd been running, except for like that training block, which was maybe a month and a half, maybe 2. I had been doing a lot more flatter stuff. So I was like, we'll just see. I'm pretty good on technical, so I'm gonna like use that skill. I had no idea how I would stack up. Because this was my first sky race, and I'd been running a bunch of flat races this year. So besides that, like month and a half, 2 month training block, I was where I did a lot of deep up and down. It was more flat and fast stuff. So I was just kind of like, we'll see. I'm pretty good on technical, so use that skill. And other than that, like race smart, do the little things right, and see how it goes. So fairly conservative up the first climb, just chipping. And then at the top of that was doing fairly well relative to the people around me. So I decided to, use my downhill a bit and pick it up some. And that's when I started to see a few women I recognized and just kept racing my race. A lot of ups and downs, but also a lot of like fun ridgeline stuff, which is pretty much just like focus on the ridge and keep eating and have fun. I got my first cramp while racing. It was exciting. Now I know that they are real.
Oh yeah.
not to be messed around with. But that passed pretty quickly, and only one leg at a time. So that was nice.
Calf cramps or quads?
Like quads.
Oh really?
Bottom of the last climb after the shoe shredder descent.
Yeah. I feel like you got to really destroy yourself up down in order to get that. Like I think I've only ever had that in one race, like a true nasty quad cramps. It's not fun.
Yeah. They were. You can try to push through, but it's just. I mean, you do, but. It's not really just mind over matter. It's like the matter is pretty strong in this case.
And then I think at the top, towards the top of it was a really interesting race because it's so steep. I think you can be minutes away from people, but they feel really close.
Yeah.
So it's not scary so much as it just feels like you're always running with people, which is cool because that doesn't always happen in a lot of trail races. Top of the last climb, I saw Ruby, which I was really surprised because I don't know, I didn't know I was already that far forward. I thought I was probably maybe top 10 back like ninth or something. Saw Ruby, ran with her at the top a little bit, and then just had fun on the last descent and sent it. And then held on the flat stuff because I knew I still had speed there.
Yeah. What was that like when you hit the flats?
Skating. It was good.
You feel like concrete when you hit the flats? Like your legs feel like you're in concrete? Like that's always the worst.
No, they felt slick. Yeah,
really?
no, it felt really nice, especially like because there's a lot of, actually the descents are really nice because they're pretty much in the woods, so they're pretty soft. So coming down the last descent, it's like a bunch on this ridge, rocky ridge, and then you're into the woods in the beautiful soft trees. And then it's just like really fast downhill running, like super fast downhill. And then that just kind of like spits you out onto the river path. And then you have 3 or 5K, I don't remember, of uphill slightly.
So
just
cool.
to sort of like open up the legs.
Yeah, that is so cool. No, and it's just such a beautiful course. And, I didn't know this, but like I've heard a couple people tell me, I think it was Jackson that said, or Jackson Cole, that like the course was basically created for this race, more or less, which is nuts.
I don't think there was much of a trail there before that race started running.
So cool. Yeah. Do you plan on going back at all for like another go? Because you've had such success there.
Yeah. I spent the last 3 years trying to figure out what my strengths are. I still haven't figured it out. I do know I'm like quite fast running down technical. But that's kind of the only thing I know. We'll see. The sky running is really attractive. And it would be fun to do the circuit. There's logistical sides that are more like, how does the elite side of skyrunning going to be organized next year and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Which makes it hard to figure it out this early, and this is when like I need to know next season. Yeah. It's super duper tempting though.
It is. It's cool. Do you I was gonna wait to get into the 2025 season because I do want to talk about your Speedgoat performance as well, because I thought that was absolutely lights out. But for 2025, like what are you thinking, like maybe going after a world's qualifier? Like what do you like? Because it feels like that's what everybody's gonna do. Like we're all gonna be out there doing.
Yeah, we're like every 2 years, got to do something there. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
At least take a stab at it.
Do you have an idea what race you want to go after, like, or what specific distance, or
at Worlds?
Yeah, for Worlds. Yeah.
Good question. I'll know a lot more after JFK.
Okay.
Because this will be my first 80K race. I've raced Kepler in New Zealand, which is 60K with a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of flat. So that'll be maybe similar-ish, but yeah, I'm currently thinking either one, but I will either come away from JFK saying yeah or nah.
That's fair. Fair. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like there was a lot of mixed emotions, and I did get the inside scoop on why this race was selected, but there was a lot of mixed emotions for like the Gorge 100K being a long trail selection race, and a lot of it was just because like
my coach was curious about the reasoning behind that.
It was time of the year. I think it was permitting, time of the year. Permitting was like the big deal because apparently in order to fit the bill, you have to have a permit, which is hard in the United States, like a permit for everybody. So you can't, like, there's no limitations on how many people can sign up, which is hard to find apparently.
Oh, for it to be a world qualifier?
Yeah, for it to be a qualifier. And then just the lack thereof of people that applied, or lack thereof races during that time for people to apply. Because I think it needed to be before July. So that was the other criteria.
How doesn't Broken Arrow have a cap though?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think they allow, because I think there's like multiple thousands of people that are able to do that. So I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. Tom Hooper. I don't know either. I gotta go after Tom Hooper for that comment. He also gave me some information though, because like one of the things that he said is it can't be at altitude like for the big selector, but like Broken Arrow is kind of at altitude, and so it was like this year we had the mountain running championships at Cirque Series, and that was obviously at
Yeah.
11,000
Yeah.
feet.
It's going to be interesting. Like if it does work out and I end up doing like the qualifiers and worlds, like with some UTMB events thrown in there for kicks, it's going to be like fast and flat early in the season and then like mountain technical late in the season, which would be fun.
I think it's fun.
I'm in the mountains. I don't know how it'll go for athletes that are more specialized on one side or the other. But we'll see.
I think it's complementary, though. I mean, you build an enormous engine. You'll have great running economy. All those things translate super well to the mountains, more or less, if you will.
Yeah. If you feel comfortable, like if you have the like, I can run on rocks.
Right. Yeah, it's that technical ability to, Plus, you can train anywhere. I mean, especially during that time of the year. Like, I feel like for OCC, it must have been dope getting ready for that, just being in the San Juans and being that it like.
I was actually over in France.
Oh, were? Oh, wow. So
yeah.
Tell me about this. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Let's hear this story.
Yeah. Last couple of years, we spent sort of the beginning, end of July, early August in a little mountain town in France.
Wow.
At elevation, partly, but also just like a group of our friends from New Zealand. People when we were like, oh, did you hang out with Americans? We're like, actually, no, we hung out with all our Kiwis. We didn't see any American friends. But yeah, little mountain town in the Alps, just living and training and working and on repeat.
Wow. What was that experience like to being able to do that several years in a row? Do you, I mean, because I feel like being an American, being able to come over longer, more ahead of time, you adjust to the sleep patterns, you adjust to your diet, everything, it just makes it so much easier being out there ahead of time before the race.
Yeah, it does for sure. And I think it's probably more on the mental side than the physical side, except for maybe sleep. But like if you're running, I don't know, UTMB, you shouldn't be on a normal sleep schedule anyway, so it doesn't matter as much. But I think just like feeling calm and collected and at home, which can be done in other ways. Like I think if you get there a little bit in advance and you have a chalet that's not in downtown Chamonix, that's a bit out of town, you can settle in for a bit. At least having like a few days to just chill and rest. The luxury version is a month or something like that, but there's multiple ways to get close, I think. Yeah.
Did you stay far away from Chamonix throughout the process? Just because I feel like the energy there is just kind of crazy.
Yeah. It was about 3 hours away. And part of me was like, oh, I really want to run a little bit of the course. And then I was like, I did it last year and I watched the whole live stream from the year before. And I was like, I've gotten enough of the course by watching the live stream that I think they'll be fine. Like it's better to not spend 2 days traveling over there and trying to run a piece of it.
Yeah.
Just to settle in and relax.
It's a brutal course. What did you think of that course?
Yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised how different my experience of the course was last year to this year. Last year I was a bit scared of it. Like make sure I have I'm still fresh at Triant and halfway and I have lots of energy left for the second half because there's 3,000 meters and it's a long 50K and all this stuff. And I think a few of my races this year, like canyons, for example, I had some family stuff going on. And when I started the race, I was like, ooh, I'm kind of tired. This happens at the beginning. I'm not warmed up yet. And then like a half hour later, I'm like, ooh, still quite tired. Well, it's just going to be a tired day. So running a fast 50K, starting off feeling quite exhausted and still being able to pull down a pretty good time. It was 4:16 or something. I was like, oh, okay, I don't have to be fresh partway through a 50K. I can, that's fine. I think if I'm tired at Triumph, perfect. That's the point. So I was able to push a bit more and just sort of be more confident in what I can do. And that helped a lot. So there is a lot of up and down, but my takeaway from the first year also was there's a lot of running. Yeah. 3,000 meters, but there's so much running in it. So run a lot and just get strong at running uphill. Yeah. Runnable grades.
Yeah. Is it so much steeper there? 'Cause I've never run in Europe before, actually. I plan to probably next year, but actually possibly in 2025. We'll see. But is it just so much steeper, harder? I don't know. It's interesting to me to see some Americans come over, especially ones that live in the mountains. And everybody says to me, it's just so much steeper. It's a different beast in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some trails where you're like, yeah, this just goes up. I think I don't know why, but some year I was running this uphill trail and I was like, yeah, this is not forest road grade. This is way steeper. And so that's maybe a lot of our trails might be based on like old forestry road grades, and that's not a thing. They just go up. That being said, they also like, I think all the hills do this, like they get really steep at the top and they're runnable at the bottom. So it also doesn't mean the first year I spent way too much time on way too steep because I was like, it's super steep. It has 3,000 meters in it. Like just go up and down a really steep trail. So it's a cool mixture, really. Like find the steepest trail in your area and spend some time on that, but not all of your time.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love how dialed it seems like you are with your training too. Like you I don't know. I've really gotten into training theory in the last like maybe year and a half, and like dialing that in as what is too specific, what, trying to stay less specific further out, things like that. Do you spend a lot of time in the gym? Like, do you lift at all for extra like strength and stuff like that?
I do a little bit. Gonna try to get more this winter. It's I need to find some correct balance between training and strength. I have a strength coach who's based in New Zealand who's wonderful. Her name is Vibram. It's really hard to combo it with a really stiff running schedule.
Yeah.
Specifically racing, like stopping strength 2 weeks before racing, starting it up a week after. Well, if your races are every month or so, that means you have 1 week of strength, but then you're sore. So should you actually do that week? How should you sprinkle it around? So, I'm still figuring out how to like slot the two together in a way that's sustainable. I think the trick is ramping up strength, not just going full on.
Yeah.
Starting with small bites. Or small things more spread out. It is super important, and I think it's something that often slips. It often slips for me because it is secondary. More in the future.
Yeah. No,
especially if I want to do mountain stuff. Like,
yeah.
Emma's a great example. Like, she's just super duper strong, and she runs up mountains really strong. There may be a correlation there. Just saying.
It's true. It's hard. I mean, I had Cam Smith on the podcast a few weeks ago, and he's in the gym like 4 or 5 times a day, or a week. I'm sorry, 4 or 5 times a week. I'm just like, dude, like, I don't have the time for that, And it's like, well, if you want to be an Olympic ski mountaineer, that's how you do it, or one of the best mountaineers in the world.
And I think I just need to make some modifications. Like, I don't like driving to the gym because it's only like a half-hour run or a 15-minute bike. But if I want to fit it into the day, I really just should drive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's hard to.
Listen, I'm with you there. I struggle sometimes myself, especially like it's that where you'll get ramped up, you'll get into a season, and it's like, do I taper this down? Do I just completely stop 2 weeks out? And it's like, and then you got to start it back up again, and then you're sore. Like you said, it is tricky to be able to like implement that, but beauty of the off season, right?
Yeah, I love the gym. When I was sailing, I was in there 5 days a week. Like, it's a special spot, but just slotting it together properly.
That's fair. So, all right, let's dive into Speedgoat because it's something I really wanted to get into as well. Like 28K dub this year, tough course, tough as nails course. Like, do you really enjoy Speedgoat? I think you've run it a couple times, right?
I've run it twice. I ran it my first year, running professionally, and first year back in the US, and then this year, I got third, first year behind. Oh dear, Yellow Runner. What's her actual name?
Sally McRae.
I think so.
Did she run the 28K?
No. No. Oh dear.
I should know this. I'm trying to remember myself. Was it Hillary? I mean, Hillary Allen.
Hillary Allen.
Was it Hillary? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I know she was out there. Yeah.
I know who got first too. Anyway, a bit behind them, and I was like very excited happy with myself. So it was really cool to come back because it had been 3 years on or 2 years on, and just so much more learning. And I looked back at how much I ate the first year, and it was abysmal. It was like, I don't know, 30 grams an hour or something. I was like, how did I get over that mountain and back? Like, what? So improving in areas like that. But I think it's a really cool profile because the 28K goes up the mountain, down the backside a bit, back up to the top, and then fast to the finish. And it's like, you have to be careful going down the backside at the right speed and the right effort, because you have a lot more of the race to go with a bunch of up and a bunch of fast down if you can. So it's kind of like a fun little puzzle. So it's fun this year to execute that puzzle, I guess.
You put it together.
Yeah. Even though I left the top so you can get your crew to crew you at the top both times through. And the first time I left, I was like, oh shoot, I meant to take like the bigger gels, but when I'm racing, my subconscious is like, you don't like food. So I took the smallest gel and I'm like, gosh, there's 30 grams left, whatever. And then when I left the second time through the top, I took no food. So I was heading down the mountain with, I don't know, 8 miles to go. And I was like, I have no nutrition. Well, we'll just see how this goes. But then somebody had dropped a full package of Cliff Blocks.
Score.
Too much. Right, exactly. 2K down. I was like, well, the world smiles on me. That's good. Yeah, it's just fun because you have that last 8 kilometers from the top and you just 10 now because it's longer. It's 28K, but it's actually 31K.
Oh.
Just send it. Like, have fun and send it. And so I did the whole race running with it myself like I usually do, and then was like, well, send it and see what happens. And I caught first, probably 2K from the end, maybe something like that.
Okay.
And then apparently gapped her by a bunch. I don't know. I was just running.
Proper
running
race that. So
having fun. Yeah.
Okay. No, I like it. I like it. Are you competitive?
Oh, no, I wrote an essay in high school once, and the teacher was like, I think you're really competitive with yourself. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. I think she was pretty adept. Like, I'm not like, I want to beat that person. I don't want to get them. That doesn't resonate. Like, usually when I'm racing at the end of races, I'm like, all right, if you can finish 10 seconds faster, that might be like 1 or 2 points, like ITRA points or UTMB points, or like this time or whatever. I guess I'm more analytical than I like beating myself. Like, that's why I determined at OCC. I was like, beat past you, Robyn.
I like that.
Yeah. Self-competitive, I guess.
Yeah. Listen, everybody's different. It's just interesting. It's very interesting to hear different answers. Because I've had some,
and I'm probably an abnormality.
no, it's like interesting because like I'll have people sit across from me and they're like, I can't even let like some like, because I'm very much that way. Like if I'm even on a nice relaxing hike with my wife, like I can't let someone pass me. Like it just doesn't happen.
I do that. In training, I do that. I think I've reined it in significantly in racing because I'm like, if they're going too fast, you'll see them later.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's fair. That's fair.
Do me. But I do realize that I do me also at the end, and I could probably do me less. I could try to catch people, for example. But
side note, because you're from the PNW, do you ever go back and race up there? The reason I ask is because I'm supposed to have Julian Carr on the podcast tomorrow, and they just put up a new Cirque Series race in Washington, which looks pretty dope in Crystal. I don't know. I'm trying to remember because it's September 20th. I got to look and see if that like conflicts with Worlds or
the week before.
Is it the week before? So
I think, or something like that.
A little confliction there. Yeah, if you're back there, you should put that on the calendar. It'd be good. I want to try and recruit as many killers as possible. Come on.
That'd be super fun. People are like, oh, you're from the Pacific Northwest, you race these races. And I'm like, no, actually, I didn't really run when I lived there. I did the race in Whistler before the whole shebang with UTMB and stuff.
Oh, is it Whistler Alpine Meadows or whatever?
Yeah, Whistler Alpine Meadows. So that's the closest I've gotten to racing in the Pacific Northwest, except for Gorge Waterfall. So it'll be fun. Yeah. Oh, that's not true. I did a 10K with my sister this spring, but that doesn't really count.
That's fair. Yeah, it's funny. I've been out there to run, but never raced. So I'm excited to finally go out there and probably in September and go do that race. And
which one? The Cirque Series.
I'll probably do the Cirque Series race if Worlds is not, which it probably won't be. We'll see. I don't know. The problem with the up down is like these races are so competitive. Same with Broken Arrow, the VK. Like, any races that I would love to do, not happening for, it's going to be.
You have to do like the Triple Crown or something.
Yeah, something like that. We'll see.
And you podium on that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy how competitive our sport is now. It is absolutely bananas. Seeing how much it's progressed and it's gotten, it's so wild. But
yeah, it's cool because it also seems like it's a bit like one person shows people what is possible, and then everyone is like, oh yeah, that's possible. And that's just moving so quickly right now. It's really cool. Everyone's sort of breaking down each other's barriers in a interesting way.
It's true. It's amazing. And I can't wait to see like what happens in the next 5 to 10 years. I mean, like we've seen so many incredible records go down, and I think they're just going to keep going down.
Part of me is like the logical analytical is like that can only happen for so long. It's not infinite, which is true. But on another part, it's like, well, it looks infinite from this this progression.
It does, and it's crazy. Like, this actually leads to a good conversation. Like, what do you think about the sport? Like, where it's going to head? Like, do you think it's going to be more like triathlon or, I don't know, road racing in a lot of ways, where it's just this mass participation event for everything? Or do you think it still stays like a soul sport, if you will, and it's more conceptual?
On point question with the last few years of dynamics between different race organizations. I personally think that this all, like the commercialization portion of it, I'm glad it is happening now and not earlier. And the reason for that is I think the sport is big enough now that these entities can coexist. So like small local little races that are grassroots and don't have any course markings besides Bert and Bob and Sam saying go that way. There are people that are keen to run at pretty much every type because it's big enough now, which I think is really lucky, because I think I would be really saddened if it turned entirely commercial because the sport was really little still. I think one of the differences to triathlon is it's a lot lower entry cost. Like, you need a lot of kit for triathlon.
Dude, it's so expensive. Even to like do an Ironman, it's crazy.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that helps there be more more small like grassroots events and participants to flesh out those events. That's I think, like from what I've seen, I think that coexistence can happen. And also because traveling is really expensive and takes a heap of time. And if we had like teleportation and I don't know, in the US, 8 weeks off, like long weekends a month that you could travel, whatever you wanted for your job, I'd be a little bit more concerned that maybe people would just travel to the big events. But with how little amount of time off we get and how expensive and time consuming and effortful travel is, I think those the destination events will get some traffic, like enough for sure. But I don't think they'll take over.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it can coexist.
I think you're right. I hope it does. I hope it like options for everybody. Hopefully everybody gets along, does the whole, I'm very peace, love, and joy with that whole stuff too. I don't know.
I was very much more like anti big organizations earlier, like in sort of as this was starting to happen. And I really like things like the Whistler situation. I'm like, guys.
Yeah. Big time. What are we doing here?
Yeah. But I done respectfully. I'm done with cooperation and not cooperation necessarily, communication. I think it can coexist.
Yeah. No, and I think, I don't know, like it's interesting because like sub ultra to ultra is two completely different things. Like sub ultra, I don't know, I think ultra is so limited on the amount, like permit wise, depending on where you're at in the United States. Like you can only have 200-300 people in a 100-miler. So it's like, it's a completely different ball game. Whereas like when you compare that to these Cirque Series races that are like mass participation events where you're going to have 600 up to sometimes 1,000 people, depending on where you're at, or Broken Arrow or whatever. Yeah. Stuff like that. It does change the game a little bit. So it's interesting.
It does. And it grows the pools and that makes it all the records faster. I think it also is cool that the commercial, like the plus side of the commercialization side is it means there is more money in the sport so that people can actually do it for a living. We're getting there. Not there yet. Getting there. as long as it doesn't stomp out everything else, I think all paths can move forwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it is interesting on that end too. That's one thing I do get excited about is that there is more money coming into the sport. That means better things for the professionals. You're starting to see, I mean, obviously at the top end of the sport, you're seeing 6-figure contracts for like your like, I don't know, David Roche is very popular, public about it on his podcast about like what Adidas is willing to pay for like a Leadville course record and stuff like that. So it's nice to see like brands are willing to pay and are shelling out money so people can actually like live their lives and not be at the poverty line to be a professional athlete.
Yeah. And the amount of time, like if you try to train and work full time, like there isn't enough. It's like one of those, pick 2 of these and one of them sleep, eating, like work and running. Like it doesn't all fit within 24 hours recovery.
Not at all. No, I tell this to people all the time because I do get this question a lot. Like, how do you do the podcast? How do you run and train full time? How do you work full time, 40 plus hours a week? I'm like, dude, I'm a zombie. Like I don't, I don't sleep very often. And that's the other thing too, is like, then you have to be like present in your relationships. You have to be a friend, a partner, it's not exactly an easy thing. So yeah, I can only hope and pray that like we get more, and it's the sport's grown. So obviously more money. And that's the other thing too, this is a conversation for another day, but like just the budgets these brands have that athletes don't even have. I know it now because of the podcast side where you get to like see more and understand more, but you see the budgets these brands have and it's like, whoa, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And athletes are marketing people and they're pretty much working full time for their sport.
Yeah. I agree. Well, listen, we're just about over an hour. I think we're about an hour now, a little bit more. I'm going to get into some fun questions. I'm curious to see who inspires you.
Who inspires me? Ooh. Oh, I have a new one. This 73-year-old in Durango who I met on a recent flight. She's just a goer and a doer. She is a chiropractor and she used to live in California, and she spent the last 2 years redoing her certification so she can now practice in Durango. She's been doing it for 40 years and she loves it and she's going to keep doing it. Like,
shout out to her.
We can all be that cool when we're in our early mid 70s. Like, yeah, just a crazy inspiration. It's just like, I'm not a chiropractor and I will never be one, but it's just like that energy to apply to whatever you're passionate about, and go after to do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. Do you think because obviously running is a finite thing, it will change in our lives all the time. Our relationship with it now will not be the relationship we have in our 50s and stuff like that. Do you think you'll go back to engineering, or do you think life coaching? Like, what do you think? Like, because the way I view life is, like, yes, I have my job now, but my next act in life, if you will, is going to be something completely different. Like, what do you think about like for your next act in life?
Yeah, I like those acts. I remember when I was in college, I was stressed a heap about like choosing my career. And then I heard a stat, which I don't know if it's correct or not, but I got a lot of value from it, which was people on average change their careers 6 times. And I was like, whew, okay, I'm good with that. I can just pick the first one and then I'll pick the next one later. I don't think necessarily life coaching and engineering are separate. I think, for example, working within an engineering firm or like management or just like team dynamics, a team dynamic coach would be really cool.
Yeah.
Public speaking is really fun, and that's something I'm trying to work more into my running. Yeah.
You got options.
I'm really interested in people, which isn't separate from engineering. People are like, aren't you analytical or something? I'm like, they're not distinct. People are engineers are people, non-engineers are people, and we're all like function with these quirks and blocks and all sorts of.
You could be good at math and still be extroverted.
Interesting.
Like,
Pardon?
I said you could be good at math and still be extroverted. Like,
yeah. For example, I was homeschooled. People are like, "Wait, really? But you can talk to people." I'm like, "Yeah, I can." True.
All right. So I'm gonna get into a silly question because you are from the Pacific Northwest. What's your take on Bigfoot?
Oh, I thought you were going to say the Seahawks. Bigfoot. I guess that was a few years ago.
Close.
I don't know enough to comment. Is he the big white one or the like brown one?
He's the brown. I'd say he's more the brown. I mean, I don't know. There's like, all right. So in a serious notion here,
like across so many cultures, there's this like 9-foot tall hairy dude from like thousands of years ago, right? So it's like, maybe, I don't know, like something's there. I don't know, or was there. I don't know, you know? So I ask everybody the Bigfoot question.
Nice. Yeah. It just reminds me of the Tintin comic, well, not comic book really, but maybe comic book that had the big white creature. But I think that's a different one.
That's a Yeti. That's the Yeti.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But they're like crossed in my brain.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically the same thing.
Winter edition.
Yeah, exactly. One's prepared for Everest and one's just prepared for, what is that? Now you could say Mount Hood, or what's the one? Rainier. So.
Yeah. Well, I need to learn a lot more about running in the woods with predators involved, because I didn't pay attention to that in New Zealand, and I've kind of just haven't ever returned to knowing about it. So I think learning more about Bigfoot would be in that category too.
That's true. Yeah, in New Zealand, you guys just have like stags, like you just have elks, right? That's basically, or elk. That's basically it, right?
I don't think there's even elks.
Oh wow. Well, it depends. Like, what part were you in? The tropical part, or were you in the mountains?
Both. We started on the North Island, then we went south.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
one side effect of spending time in New Zealand is every time I see a deer here, my brain baas, thinking that that's the correct sound, because there's so many sheep in New Zealand. I'm like, animal, bah!
That's actually really funny.
It's happened in the last 2 years. It's not correct.
Yeah, that is a weird like, do you run with, I don't know, on like solo runs, do you run with music in? I do that a lot. Because I just get bored. So I'll put in music all the time. And like, I don't recommend that, because like I have literally run into a bear before. Like, yeah, like the bear had his back turned, and like I literally came up on
like a tree.
I came up on this ridge, and like literally like he was like 3 feet from me. Like, I pretty much bumped into him. He looked at me and I looked at him, and he just ran away. But yeah, I was like, oh, I don't really recommend that to people. Don't run with music by yourself in the woods.
Good call. Yeah. Point taken. That's my first piece of learning about predators.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Well, it's a good thing we don't have grizzlies. It could be worse. So
that's true.
Yeah.
They were the little ones.
Yes. Well, Robyn, thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate your time. I want to wish you the absolute best of luck at JFK this weekend. And I hope, I'll probably run into you at a race this year. So I hope we get to meet face to face.
That'd be super. Let me know when you come through Durango, and I'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. What'd you guys think? What a fun episode. Robyn is just like a seriously like superhuman, incredible human. Like, very few things she can't do. Her background is just so crazy. I mean, MIT, we talked all about, I mean, we dove into a lot of really interesting things. So it's very interesting to meet humans like this that are just become excellent in everything they do. So very interesting. Guys, like I said, we want to wish Robyn the absolute best of luck as she prepares for her next race at the Gorge Waterfall 100K, which is going to be the world's long course qualifier for the United States team. Last but not least, hop on Instagram. Let's get her some followers. Her handle is Trails4Smiles. That's TRAILS 4. It's the number 4 smiles. You guys can spell smiles. Give her a follow, send her a DM, and let her know what you thought about the episode. Send her some words of encouragement, and I'm sure she'd love to hear from you guys. That's all I got for you guys. We've got another great episode with the Queen of Pikes Peak coming out on Friday with none other than Miss Kim Dobson, one of the greatest female uphill runners to ever do it, if arguably the greatest. Lots of strong, amazing women on the podcast this week. And I'm so excited to bring you guys these episodes. Without further ado, one last thing. Before you guys get going, hop on Instagram or Spotify or Apple. Give us a 5-star rating and review. And if you love this episode, give it a share on Instagram. Would really appreciate that. The intention and the goal is to get this out to the world. So the more people can hear Robyn's amazing story, as well as some of the amazing stories of all the others that we've had on the podcast, the more we can get this out to the world and continue to cover our great sport. So guys, have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.